No more money!
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode in the increasingly belated series known as Price Check. I'm not going to try and guess what episode number we're on because I've likely forgotten by now, but it's somewhere in the early to mid-20s, which is one episode for about every year that I've been on this planet. So, you know, that's a nice coincidence. Today we're going to be looking at the spoils once again of some party play, and party play is the reason why I've been a bit absent from YouTube recently. I actually have a video that's either out now or coming out very soon. I don't know when this one's being uploaded as compared to the other, which will explain what I've been doing and why my Magic Find setup looks so odd. But all that aside, let's delve into some of those spoils. I've already separated out all the currency, div cards, uniques, that sort of thing. The things that are very easily price checked and you can probably do at home with a blindfold on or two hands tied behind your back. But we're going to take a deep delving dive now into some rare gear. A lot of it shaper touched, a lot of it already ID'd because the party throws it at me that way, but I have not seen these items, so they'll all be new to me. And a lot of it potentially good. Usually people try to give me things that they think are going to be decent, but not always are they accurate in their assessments. Already I've seen a few stinkers, but let's get down to it. There's a few things we're going to need to ID, it seems. And we will be checking some of these bases as to whether or not they're worth anything. For instance, in Elder, Behemoth Mace, above item level 80, or I suppose at item level 80 on this particular number, is likely worth something. So let's transition over to the browser so I can demonstrate what I'll be doing from now on to check these bases. It's very simple. Simply go to this little drop-down menu here, type in the base name. You want to put in your item level down here as the minimum. Choose your poison, shaped, or elder, and click search. We'll see whether or not I was correct in my assessment. Looks like it's about 1 chaos for 1 at eye level 80, which means they're not really selling because this is enough for 2 weeks, 4 weeks. So we can just go ahead and vendor that unless it's got good rolls, which it does not. So we can get rid of that. Little surprised actually that base isn't worth more, but more people are probably crafting on Sambar Scepters, I suppose, rather than a Behemoth Mace, as far as mace bases are concerned. But a Behemoth Mace does have that implicit attack speed as well as potentially good PDPS, so it wouldn't be horrible to craft on. Level 22 Abyssal Cry, 93 max life, and reduced extra damage from crits. I don't think together that's worth very much. We're going to go ahead and see if we can craft a resist onto this, though, because that is what it is most conspicuously missing. It can have a resistance roll. Still though, it's not a Stygian Vise, it's not Darkness Enthroned, it's not Headhunters. There's a lot of competition for the belt slot for varying levels of wealth. Just about everybody in the game can afford a Darkness Enthroned. Good Stygian Vises are sort of the middle class option for belts if you don't need the second Abyssal Jewel for some reason. And then of course everybody who's got hundreds of Exalts to their name, who there's not very many, but the people in that market are just going to be going for Headhunters because it's a good belt, it turns out. So I doubt this is actually going to sell, despite the fact that, you know, if you can use everything on it, it doesn't seem half bad. I actually don't want to just vendor it, though. I'm going to hold on to it in my Shaper Touch tab, because it seems like something that I may try using in the future, or probably just forget about. Where's my Shaper tab? Where did I put that? There you are. Alright, on to the next jewel. We've got res, cold damage, and crit multi while dual wielding, and a little bit of charge duration, which doesn't seem particularly useful to me. We're going to start this at 8C for the res, multi, and damage. Seems relatively fair. No movement speed, no life, no deal on those boots, shaper touched or otherwise. Shagreen boots are not the base you're looking for evasion. You're looking for slink boots, so I don't think we can sell this by dint of the base either. Pretty garbage ring. This is a shaper touched eye level 81 topaz ring. I like to hold on to these as bases, but we can check and see what the value might be just for a generic I-81 shaper touched ring. So we're gonna put in just, instead of specifying a single base, we're gonna type just ring. We're gonna go for eye level 81, and we're gonna go for shaper touch. And this may have some value because you can roll the curse on hit on it, of course. These are some fairly garbage bases. What we'd want to do is, if we were being incredibly thorough, this is how you could check. You could make an implicit of fire resistance, cold resistance on the implicit, or lightning resistance. And now this will only bring up sapphire, ruby, and you want to count one of these. This will only bring up sapphire, ruby, and topaz rings. We'll see what those might hold in terms of value. 3, 5, 5 chaos seems to be about the worth of the base. There's one at 3, up for 21 hours. So it might sell pretty quickly as we shoot up to 5, 6, 7. So we could just list this at 5C and it'll probably sell. But I'd like to hold on to the base for future crafting. However, that's useful information to have. So let's just go ahead and throw that into my bases tab, which is getting mighty full, so maybe I'll start to list those. Aventail helmet, not a good base. Pretty random in a eclectic set of rolls, so we'll get rid of that. Garbage belt, no life, no resists, same here. We have level 22 Enduring Cry. Leather belt is a better base than heavy belt, that's for sure, but this didn't roll very well, and it's not a Stygian vise. So, I mean, we can check it. Perhaps leather belts are worth something as an Elder Touch base, but I don't think so. We'll see, though. We'll see. And this is always information that's going to be useful to have because we'll likely come across one of these again. What eye level are we? 83. Pretty high, actually. I know there's some 82 specific rolls. Oh, yes, we're going to want to specify rarity rare or normal, just non-unique. I wish there was a way to specify non-unique. 5C for the base. So that is not vendor food. I mean, we can also just put in normal and make sure that the base is 5C. And there's none. All right, well, still. It's not much reason for someone to scour it and then sell it, I suppose. So let's list this thing at 5 chaos and hopefully get a sale. I'll have to look at the list of Elder Belt mods, see what people might be shooting for on that front. Got a Fossilized Spirit Shield, which is a pretty decent base because it does have that relatively high spell damage implicit. It's got Area of Effect, Max Fire Resistance. Those two together do make me think Righteous Fire, but without ES or life rolls, I don't think it will be used for that, so likely this would only sell by dint of the base, which I'm not going to bother you with transitioning over. I'll just quickly check it real fast here. I-81 and Elder Touched. Let's see what we come up with. Yeah, 1C on a listing means it's not actually worth much. 38 life, 7 movement speed for minions, a little bit of additional chaos damage, but not much. Game server lost contact with the realm, that's probably not good. Can we get right back in? We can, interesting. Well, as I was saying, hi Navali, welcome back. As I was saying, we've got a little bit of minion damage, some minion damage if you've used a minion skill recently, which is pretty damn easy to satisfy. We're going to go ahead and price this. I don't really have much experience with buying or selling minion-based jewels. I've not seen that many of them. And I have no idea how much this might be worth, so we're going to try and set up an accurate search for this. The life is relatively high, around 38. 40-ish is what you're aiming for in Abyssal Jewels for the most part. Anything above 30 is usually sellable. Anything around 40 to 50 is going to be worth your time. So I'm going to do 35 as our minimum on max life. Though I actually want that... Oop, typing is hard. I actually want that as an explicit, not a total, so that we don't come up with one with strength on it. Minion damage, if you've used a minion skill recently. Seems like the best out of the mods on this since the chaos roll is so incredibly low. And then we can just throw in a bunch of other minion mods and see what we find. Minions. Scroll down to Abyss Jewels, deal. Well, our additional roll is so low that I don't actually know if it's worth putting in. So we can just throw in, we've got minion movement speed. You know what, we'll just can all of this actually. And this is a really specific search. Movement speed for minions? What was the syntax? Minions have increased movement speed. Minions have. And we should just be able to scroll down to Abyss Jewels and find movement speed. Right? There you are. Normally I wouldn't do a search this specific, but I'm almost certain something like this will actually show up. This is why I don't like to do super specific searches. This one is relatively close to ours, though better for Mind Over Matter, because of course it has that mana roll. I don't think our 1 to 3 chaos damage matches up to the 20 mana, as well as that this has been up for 3 days without selling. This has been up for a month. This is obviously way overpriced. This one doesn't have a price, that doesn't really help me. If we check offline as well, we'll get a slightly larger sample size, I imagine. Yeah, 17 results. We can see that it does jump up to 20, 40, 40, 50 pretty quickly. And this is only a little bit of flat lightning, though. Again, that's been up for 3 weeks. This is a little bit of flat fire, higher than ours, though. So that flat chaos may mean that we have like a 25C jewel in our hands or something, but it's honestly very difficult to tell. I don't really trust any of these listings, but we'll start it at 25 and then sort of just let it sit. See if we ever manage to get it to sell. This is a item that I'm sort of exploring the potential price on still myself. And that is the most exciting thing to price, that's for sure. What do we got here? Fire damage multi, some percent ES. If that percent ES were decent, I would have considered trying to sell this. I don't think without good percent ES or good life that's going to be worth anything. Life, mana, some res, sure. 54 strength, 66 life is actually quite a good amount of life for this ring. What is that? 25 plus 60 is 85, 91-ish? 93. I think 93 life is, yeah, what that has. No, a little more. I dropped the 5. 95-ish life or so. I'm sure someone else will do that math and put it in the comments for me. 1 to 2 flat fizz depresses me a bit, but, you know, good collection of resists, high stat, a good amount of life, and room to craft, if need be. I think that actually has a open prefix and open suffix, which is really rather valuable, so... nothing super impressive on this ring, but I think we can throw it up for about 10C. Maybe even a little bit more we could have squeezed out of it, but I want a fast sale, so we'll let it sit low. This one, I think, was about a 5C jewel or so. What do we got here? Chaos damage to attacks, dagger attacks, dagger attacks. The 1 to 3 fizz is pretty low. I always keep an eye out for base fizz, though, because that can really help with some interesting weapons, allowing them to scale up into being usable. Things like Frost Breath, or what Mathel did, for instance, with Brightbeak and Sire of Shards this league. The flat fizz rolls are what really enable that to a large degree. We've got a Elder Touched Iron Ring that's eye level 81. I think this is around 5 chaos just for the base, but I'm going to make sure that my memory is serving me correctly. Iron Ring. Eye level 81. Elder. I was incorrect. It's dropped down to about 3 chaos, so I must have priced one of these earlier on. We'll list it at 4 and see if it sells. I don't really care to craft on an iron ring base myself. Vol Axe, Elder Touched, which is exactly what you want, and eye level 81. Beautiful. I've seen some people make some pretty crazy things out of Vol weapon, out of Elder Touched weapon bases, rather. Siege Axe is what people are crafting on. There's a few up for 2C, and then it instantly jumps to 8, so I think we'll just list ours at 8. I wouldn't say that that's worth anything as a base, and the rolls on it are pretty garbage. Relatively bad. 1 to 4 to attacks, 5 to 9 physical to dagger attacks. That's a pretty high physical to dagger attacks. Combined with attack speed, could be okay. If that had another fizz mod on it, it would be really nice. Or if it had life, or multi. Some other usable thing rather than the pretty garbage flat chaos. Really good life roll. Fire damage spells wielding a two-handed weapon. Not too many builds out there that can use that. An additional physical damage reduction if you weren't damaged by a hit recently. The life is the only thing making me hesitant to vendor this, but the other rolls are pretty bad. Block chance with shields, crit chance of one-handed, attack and cast speed, strength and dex, a little bit too eclectic to sell. Block chance is almost worthless on jewels. Damage over time, fizz with bows, attack speed with bows. I don't think there's any bleed bow builds out there that would want that. Fizz with bows is not going to scale like poison bow builds, since they scale mostly off of flat damage at the moment. Max life, area damage, attack speed, attack speed. Well, that's nice and clean. That is a good 4-prop jewel. There's no crit multi on it, which would have made it even more insane, I think, but double attack speed, percent damage mod, and life. That is wonderful. That is a really, really good jewel. That's probably worth quite a bit. We've got a perfect percent ES roll. Not quite perfect, actually. It goes to 22, I think, but a very good percent ES roll. Some flat fizz, some all attributes, some crit chance, and a tiny bit of res. I'm actually going to corrupt this and hope to get a better implicit on it than Coral. Also, I was on D&D mode and then the game crashed, so I'll have to go back to that, but let's give this man his acid lakes while we've got him here. Here you are, friend. And then we can corrupt that amulet. Let's hop into D&D mode. Boom. We got attack speed, which is more useful than life regen is an implicit, so, and does synergize with our flat fizz on the amulet. So, very weird one. I don't know of a build out there right now that would want that collection of stats, but some of the stat rolls are pretty high, so it might be worth something. That is not, though. That gold amulet, we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Life, crit multi, fire damage to spells. Pretty basic, but pretty solid. That could be really good for my Firestorm crit build, actually. And I might just snag it. Fire damage, attack speed while holding a shield. Fire resistance, life gain for each enemy hit by your attacks. Fire damage, attack speed, and fire res is okay. I don't think it's worth that much, though. Attack speed with wands, attack speed holding a shield, proj speed. Seems synergistic, but none of those are particularly high value. And cast damage to spells, max life, max mana for some sort of mind over matter Dark Pact build, potentially. We will just toss that up since it's got mediocre life and mediocre mana. We'll toss that up for just a few chaos. This can go in here. This jewel, I'm going to go ahead and do a fairly in-depth price check on. So let's head over to the browser window again, and we're going to search it on up. So what we're looking for is a jewel with life, 2 attack speed mods, and then 1 generic 3rd damage mod. So life is very important. Probably faster to search this. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the roll is, since we have a 5%. We don't need to specify any higher. We want attack speed. Attack speed while dual wielding. And while holding a shield also, sure. Pricing jewels can be a lengthy business, but when you have something that could be as potentially good as this, it is definitely worth it. With claws, attack speed with daggers, attack speed with one-handed. I think we want to go attack speed with swords as well. And just try and keep it in the ballpark of ones that are similar to ours. So while holding a shield, kind of want to exclude a bunch of like the two-hander ones, because those won't be as relevant to our jewel. If we need to widen the search a bit, we can put in like attack speed with two-handed weapons and attack speed with axes, though I guess axes could actually be one-handers as well, so we should throw that in. We of course have generic attack speed and then area damage and life, so we can throw in attack speed with axes. And now we're not searching for a jewel with all of these properties. Obviously that doesn't exist. What we're going to do is we're going to count 2. So we're getting 2 attack speed mods, life, and now we can throw in something that would synergize with this. So area damage, which is what we have, melee damage, just generic damage, which is kind of annoying to search for. There. Damage with one-handed, is that a thing? Physical damage, yeah, with one-handed. Melee weapons and damage while holding a shield. Melee physical damage while holding a shield. And count one of these. Let's see what we get. I suppose we could have done while dual wielding as well. 7 results. We're looking at 110 chaos as our baseline. We've got attack speed with daggers, attack speed, generic damage, and life. This is very similar to ours, but up for a week at 110. Possibly because of the specificity of daggers here. This one is our jewel. This one is our jewel but corrupted. For 2.5x listed an hour ago. This one is also basically our jewel, not corrupted. It looks like we can do about 4x to start, because that's where the prices even out. And we've got one-handed melee weapons, one-handed melee weapons. These are very similar to ours as well. They've got double attack speed, life, and area damage. So we could start it at 4, though these 4x ones have 7% life. I mean, we could just drop a divine on this jewel. It's almost worth doing that just to get it into a higher echelon of the search. You know, we throw a divine at it, it rolls 2% higher in the life roll, and we can put it at 4x and have it sell faster. Sure, why not? It's not really a good idea. See, the reason I don't want to do that is because someone who's a bit more savvy on their search is going to be looking for ones that are potentially divinable. Which may be why this has been up for a week, because maybe people just aren't finding it in their search because they're specifying 7% life. Because if you find something like this with 4 props for 3x, that's 1x less than, you know, a 7% one with the same rolls, basically. And you just throw a divine at that. And then you have a 7% life roll most of the time because it's a 5 to 7 range. That's really easy to hit max. So I think I'm going to take on the onus of throwing the Divines so that it shows up in surges more often and I can get a bit more money out of it. It's a bit of a gamble. Likely it isn't worth it, but if we hit the 7% in 1, then I'll be happy. If not, we'll just sell it for 4x that is. And we hit the 7% in 1, so every time. Let's throw that up for 4x. So yeah, that was a rather nice jewel. Not really sure what to do with this one. We're gonna start it at, my estimate is like 40 chaos for someone who can actually use all of those stats, but that is a very wobbly estimate. I'm not certain of that. And I'm going to just hold on to this jewel. That's a rather nice one that I would like to use in one of the builds that I'm working on. All right, how far are we through the tab? Not that far yet. Labris is not a great base, so that's probably just vendor food, but let's pull some more stuff out before we start evaluating things. And a lot of these like bigger clunky things like this one-handed sword and the wand and all that are likely just going to end up as vendor food. But they're still worth picking up if they're Elder Shaper Touch because they can be so good potentially. It's all about that high stakes gamble. Especially when it doesn't take that much to pick them up. +1 weapon range, neat. Yeah, that's just a pile of interesting and useless things. Unholy Might combined with some Ellie damage, not great synergy there, and I think you'd need a third Ellie damage roll to really sell it on merit of that, so. 31 life, 27 mana, multi if you've killed recently. That's not bad for a Mind Over Matter crit build, why not? Minions deal chaos damage, minions hinder on hit with spells specifically, and not attacks, that's interesting. And then some ES. Sure, I could see that being worthwhile for some sort of Spectre ES build, of which I'm sure there's a few. Level 22 haste, this is a horrible base, so I don't think it'll sell based off of that. Based off of the base, and the rolls are bad, so we're actually just going to vendor that. Corsair Sword is a pretty good base. I don't know if people are crafting on those, especially Shaper Touched. Shaper Touched weapons don't seem as useful to craft on as Elder Touched ones, but we'll go ahead and check. Corsair, it was eye level 81, and it was Shaper Touched. And yeah, they're up for 1C, which means they don't really have value, so we'll just get rid of that. Life, lightning dispels, physical damage dispels, wielding a tuna weapon, damage against abyssal monsters. If someone can use all of that, the life roll is particularly high, and the fizz dispels is quite high, so maybe it's worth something to the right buyer. Crit multi if you've killed recently, really bad cold damage dispels while dual wielding, and life. At least it requires a very low level. This could be useful for leveling. I'll just throw that in the guild stash for someone. Flat fire, flat cold, flat chaos, flat fizz. While holding a shield and wielding a two-handed weapon. Those don't work so well together, do they? It's a decent amount of Ellie, though. And then a little bit of chaos. I don't know, I don't think that has much value, but we'll list it for 5. Volblade is not a good base, and that did not roll well. That actually did roll okay. It's got mediocre life, but it's got a stat which could help. It's 6-linked, of course, which is why we're considering it at all. And then 76 total resistance isn't bad. So we'll go ahead and list that for like 40-ish chaos, which is where I've been listing things like that. Cold damage to wand attacks, accuracy if you haven't killed, no. I mean, for a minor build, that's just 26% increased accuracy, actually. That seems pretty good. You could maybe make some mining stuff happen with that. I don't really value Ellie damage to axe attacks that much, and the flat fizz is not very high. Spell damage dual wielding, crit multi with lightning. Okay, sure. 2 damage rolls in a crit multi roll. Decently synergistic. That's pretty garbage. That is also fairly garbage. Projectiles pierce an additional target, and damage pens 8% res. Those are neat. Life, a lot of res. Okay. Attack speed, fire damage to attacks, fizz damage to bow attacks. That's a good fizz damage to bow attacks roll, I think. Which makes me think Doomfletch, along with attack speed and a little bit of Ellie. I think for like Doomfletch jewels to really sell, you need to have 2 fizz rolls. But maybe. As you may have been able to tell, I'm still a little bit unsure on a lot of different jewel rolls. As we see, there's some decent Ellie on this one. Damage against abyssal monsters is not a terrible roll. In time, I will learn them as well as I've learned regular jewels. That looks pretty good, actually, if you can make use of the plus to maximum skeletons effectively. You know, it's got life, a resist, 2% life regen, which is damn solid. And 1 max skeleton. I don't know of what sort of build would want all of those things, but I'm almost certain there is one. I mean, some sort of Skelemancer that goes low life and uses, what's the point? That causes your life regen to become ES regen. Zealot's Oath. Zealot's Oath. Could be good. Could be very good. That's a decent base. We'll hold on to that. 1 to 4 fizz to attacks, and a lot of fire to claw attacks. There is a claw, what is it, Bloodseeker, that wants flat fizz. You get the benefit of extra leech. You just have to stack enough flat fizz to make Bloodseeker's DPS good. That doesn't seem like very good flat fizz, 1 to 4, but, you know. Maybe there's a Bloodseeker build out there that wants that. Picks it up on a budget. So we got a lot of stuff to sort here. We're going to throw this in at 5. We're going to throw this in at 5. I'm going to throw this in at 8. That was garbage, and I don't know why I didn't throw it away. This one I actually wanted to corrupt. See if we can get a better implicit than that ES. Because then we get 8% movement speed, life, and 2 reses with +1 endurance charge, potentially. I don't know, we'll still throw it up for like 8C. Maybe somebody wants it. I think that's the first Shaper Touched item that I've corrupted. This was going up for 40 chaos. Hell, let's do 45. Why not? Can toss this away. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to price this one. Good life roll, a lot of flat damage. If you can meet all the specifications, that's really rather nice. I don't really want to guess on that one. We'll actually see if we can look that up. That one is probably going to be like an 8C one for the right build. 5 to 8, something in that range. There's a lot of jewels out there, so it's hard to actually land a price on them because there's just such a glutted market. Okay. Life, cold damage spells, dual wielding. This one was going to go in the guild stash for leveling purposes. What's the requirement on this? 28. Let's throw that in this tab. What have we got here? Oh, yes. That actually didn't really seem that good after some more consideration. Wand attacks, damage against abyssal monsters. Okey-doke. Can throw this up for... It's 1 crit multi-roll, 2 damage rolls. Yeah, I think 8C and then drop it makes sense. This is garbage that I don't know why I didn't vendor. Don't know how to price that at the moment. And that's a good base. So that just goes in the bases tab. Alright, let's look up this amulet first. That intrigues me way more than the jewel does. So we're going to try and ascertain the value of life and max skeletons first. So let's look for an amulet base with maximum skeletons, which is actually a mastercraft from Katarina that I've almost never seen anyone use before. But let's see. And that is what? Elder Touched? Elder Touched. I wonder if you can have that and the mastercraft. Probably not. They likely overlap. Alright, so we go from 15 chaos up to 40 chaos very quickly. This one has the life, the res, and the max skeletons that we have. Doesn't have the regen, which is our final node, right? Final roll, rather. Yeah, 2% life regen. Okay, so we're looking at like 40-ish chaos, maybe an Exalt. This seems overzealously priced to me. These have all been up for weeks. So maybe like 40-ish chaos, though other people don't really seem to know what it's worth either. So let's drop this off and see what 2% life regenerated per second is worth, potentially. We're just going to put in like 1.8. That's our minimum bound. Ah, so there's is where our value truly lies. And if we throw another resist on this. So what is our resistance? 32. Can I craft another one? I can craft all res if I want to. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we hit 8% in the all res roll. That's 8 times 3, which is 24. Plus 32 is 56% resist total. So pseudo total almost resist over 50. Let's see what we come up with. I don't see any results. That's surprising, actually. This doesn't seem like that hard of a stipulation to meet. Not bad. Not bad. This is very similar to our amulet. Higher life total, by actually a pretty wide margin, because of the strength implicit. But very similar resists, a little bit higher in that count. And actually lower life regen. Got 1.93 to his 1.9. Not that 0.03 really matters very much. Alright, well, we'll lower this down to, say, 35. And see what we find. 3 results. We're looking at this 4x one, a 1x one that has level 22 hatred instead of the extra max skeleton, as well as a bit higher life, but it's on a worse base, doesn't have the stat, and then one that's unpriced. So I think we can start this at like 3x. This has been up for 2 weeks and this has been up for a month. So maybe just the 2 exalts. I don't know. It seems like a very niche item, but evidently there are very few items like it. So if the niche buyer comes along, likely they'll be willing to pay a good amount for it. So let's keep that listed. And honestly, I'm not sure what this might be worth. We're just going to ballpark this at a 25C price and see if we get a lot of people. And if we do, I may change the price, though I don't generally like to do that. All right. And I think we're on our last inventory full. Not even. And we'll see what we've got here. 50% of block chance of light dispels is rather nice. Copper Tower Shield is only a 24% block chance. I don't think the base is worth very much. I've been doing a lot of crafting on Shaper Touch shields, so I can say pretty much explicitly that that base isn't worth anything. Siege Axe, Elder Touched. That is a good base. I know that Zizaran has been crafting on those. Maybe that's generated a bit of hype. Let's check just to make sure. Siege Axe, Elder. What eye level do we have in our hands here? 83. Not bad. Ah, yes. The base is worth 50 chaos? 50 chaos. So, without any rolls on it, really, we've still made a good chunk of change off of that thing. So let's go ahead and list it. No, not negotiable. Though I'm sure people will anyways. Vol Hatchet I don't think is going to have nearly the same sort of value, but I've not checked one, and this is Shaper Touch instead of Elder, so let's see. We've got actually 4 chaos for this base, it seems, and a fancy foil. I think jeweled foil is what you're looking for, not fancy foil. But I'll just make sure. Satisfy my own curiosity. Yeah, this seems not to have any value as a base. A lot of 1C listings. And it did not roll very well. Neither did this. What about you? Nope. Alright, well that's going to be it for that tab. Now don't you worry. There's plenty more to get through, but I think we'll leave them for future price check episodes, as I've got a lot here. And I don't want to have this episode drag on all that long. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then why not subscribe here on the YouTube channel or follow me on Twitch. There's a lot of Octavian content to come. Don't you worry. All you got to do is be there to view it. But yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.